Steve, how did you find carnivore?
Well, I try to remember specifically how I found it, but I know why I was looking at it. Uh, I have little basic history just for myself. I'm kind of your ordinary guy, grew up in typical American family. My mom loved to cook. She loved to see people eat her food, even though she didn't eat much of it, but she wanted us to. And lots of sweets and baked goods, kind of the typical stuff. And uh, I was always prone to putting weight on. I did it as a child for a while, then it would be off. And so kind of yo-yoed up and down all my life. But sweet stuff was, man, that was my jam. I mean, I was just couldn't put down sweets my whole life. Just if I saw a piece of cake, we're having three. It was just story kind of how I was. Um, Career wise, I'm a CPA, so I do tax accounting work. So I've been a desk jockey my whole life. That's what I've done. So that is also a horrible life for eating well if you don't have a plan. Lots of tax seasons, lots of 70 and 80-hour weeks. Although I'm three-quarters retired now, I'm sitting in my home office. I actually even closed out my office to a week ago. So now I go to an office to meet clients, but everything I do from home, but kind of started out with sort of your normal life, although I always played sports my whole life, so I always played something. I was like to be athletic. Basketball when I was young, and then later got into tennis for many years, play a lot of pickleball now. But it got harder and harder during the weight ups and downs, and usually that's what would motivate me to do something. Is I'd be like, oh, I can't perform anymore on the tennis court, I'm terrible, or whatever it might have been. Well, what happened this time was I my wife was out of town, and when she goes out of town, that's my excuse to eat stuff I really shouldn't. And so the particular night, April 12th of this year, I decided, oh, let's get a cheap box frozen pizza. That's a good choice, right? So that's what I did Saturday night. I think it was a Saturday night. And of course, as I'm prone to do, eat the entire pizza, not a slice or two, no, the whole thing. And the next morning, Sunday, the 13th, I mean, I woke up just feeling plain old sick, like awful, like miserable. I don't even know how to describe it other than miserable. And I had been knowing I needed to do something. I had been to a point where I was almost ready to quit playing my pickleball, which was the last sport I was sort of functionally able to do a little bit at my weight. And I was 310 at the time when I started. I'm 5'10". And so I had been looking at different carnivore YouTubes, a lot of the different people that typically do these, and I thought, well, that's something I might could do. I piddled with Atkins way back in the day and had some success with it, lost a lot of weight on it, and it's based a lot on the similar principles. And the last time I did a yo-yo was actually in 2019, 2020, somewhere right in there. I did a program that was a diet program called Ideal Protein was the name of it. It's put together by Canadian doctors. And I'd lost 140 pounds over 2 years doing it. And what it does is the similar thing that carnivore does. It's based on keeping you in ketosis, but it's all based on buying powdered protein and processed protein foods to eat. So you're buying all this stuff from them. And it's also designed in a very low calorie way. They tell you don't exercise. They don't want you to lose muscle. So you're not doing much, but eating these very limited calories. It was like an 800 to 1200 calorie or less a day. So you're hungry a lot, but it worked. And I did stick to it for a while, and I got to my goal weight. And it probably a month later, they give you the maintenance plan, and you're like counting out numbers of nuts you can have and doing well, of course, as soon as I had one bite of a sweet I thought I could get away with, essentially that all put back on about 110 of the 140, brought me back to my 310 that I found myself at in April of this year. So I knew I could do something, but I knew it had to be something that I felt was sustainable, something that I could actually make a real lifestyle. And always love meat, love about any kind of meat, love seafood, love all that stuff. And that day when I woke up so sick, that next day after having the pizza, I said, we're jumping in all the way 2 feet. Just we're doing it right now. I literally went to the grocery store, bought some meat, and that day I said, I'm going to give it 30 days. I said 30 days at a time. We'll see what happens. And so that's essentially what I did. And then I started to listen to more people about it and research it a little more because I did want to know kind of what to expect. And I was glad I did that because the first couple of weeks were a little bit rough as your body's changing. Especially, I just went cold turkey from like, never went to the gas station without coming out with two candy bars and some cookies or whatever it was, like almost every day, literally. I mean, I could not do it. So I just literally went cold turkey. And just said I'd give it 30 days was fair. I know a lot of people said 90. I said I'm going to do a month because I had a doctor's appointment coming up in May, my annual physical. So I knew I was going to face my doctor in a month, and I didn't want to face him where I was in April. And so I said, let's see where we are. So did the 30 days. My doctor's appointment came up in May of this year. And after a month, it took about 2 weeks to kind of get over the adjustment period, not running to the bathroom all the time and just some of the things that first couple of weeks brought. But I was feeling better, definitely just sort of not, just in general started to feel a little better. I wasn't hungry, which on a diet that I wasn't hungry, I didn't even know that was possible, to not be starving all the time. I just thought, well, that's normal. If you're losing weight, you're going to be starving all the time because I was skeptical of the people that said, "Oh, you won't be hungry." I thought, no, that's not happening. I don't believe that. So, but yeah, it was working pretty well. I thought, well, this is a good first month. So I saw my doctor. We did blood work. Of course, I was pre-diabetic. I was not terribly. I was at 5.8 A1C. That was in May, my May blood work that he did for my annual. And my doctor's actually my tax client, so I know him personally as well as my physician. He moved here 2 years ago and took over for a doctor I was seeing, and happened to ask, "Hey, you do taxes? Would you do my taxes?" So I did get to know him before we really were doing as much doctor-patient stuff. But I asked him, "What do you think?" I said, "This is what I'm doing." I just told him, "Doing carnivore. What do you think?" And he's a triathlete. He and his wife both compete in triathletes. So this guy's young, very athletic. I mean, you can tell that fitness matters to him. So he said, basically, I have two rules of food: nothing processed and no sugars. So basically, he said, eat real food. I don't care if call it carnivore, call it keto, he said, I don't care what you want to call it. But if you're not eating those two things and it's working for you, fine. So he was very, that's really all he said. He said, good. He said, well, you've lost. It's funny because from the year before when I had went, I probably was down the 20 pounds I lost in that month before seeing him. I really hadn't changed much from my last physical before that. I was up around 310, 315, somewhere in that neighborhood. So he said, well, you've lost a little weight. That's good. And he said, let's see what happens. And so that's the last time that I saw him. And so go another month, and the second month, at the end of the second month, I'm really starting to feel pretty good now. And in fact, in May, I started going to a group training, working out twice a week. Met a guy playing pickleball. He's 67, a year older than I am, and found out he does personal training. And he does it at his dad's house, at his dad's old carpentry shop. So this isn't like you think of a gym. This is an old metal roof building with no AC, no heat, or nothing. We're in Florida, so in the summer we're 95 plus degrees, and in the winter we get some chillier weather. But man, I could barely do anything he wanted me to do. But I love this guy, and he was like, "We'll get you where we need you to." He says, "You do what I ask you to do. We work with you where you are." So I go up there twice a week with about 3 to 4 other people that we work out together, not doing the same thing necessarily. But that started to help a lot as well. Just extra, I felt good enough to be able to even try to exercise. Like the thought of doing it was, a bit intimidating. And I was now able to play pickleball a little bit better. I could move a little bit. So it was making life a little more fun again. And So that was helpful along the way. So I started that after I saw the doctor, and and then continued to see things get better. I had hurt my knee about 2 years ago playing with my grandkids, of all things, trying to hit baseballs to them, which when you haven't done it in 30 years was probably not the smartest move in the world. But I managed to partially tear a meniscus. So I'd been dealing with this knee for a while. And in April, which was over a year out after the knee injury, I was wearing a brace to do anything. I had quit playing everything for like 6 months. I couldn't. And in April, it still hurt bad. I wore a knee brace to do anything, just walking around or whatever. And now by June, I'm 2 months on doing the carnivore, and I realized, the knee is not really bothering me. I'm going to just try playing without the brace one day. So I just took it off, and it hasn't been back on. It's just that's that. That was the first thing that hit me, that this might be more than just about weight loss, even though weight loss is what really brought me to wanting to do it. And so that gave me a real positive outlook on, hey, this thing could be more beneficial. Maybe it is more to it than I even realized, even though I'd heard the stories. And by now I've had started listening to your channel, and I'd listened to lots of other of the key people in the space. Because the other thing that it drove me to do was want to understand, how does the body work? Like, how do I lose weight physiologically? How does it happen? We're never taught that. I didn't really know. I never had a doctor talk to me about it. The IP program did talk about ketosis a lot. I learned a lot from it. The product, the way they did it, didn't really work for me ultimately, although it worked when I did it, because I was basically keeping myself in ketosis most of the time, and I'd lost all that weight on it. So I knew the idea physiologically would make sense. But I started really listening to, Ken Berry and Chafee, a lot of the other doctors that talk about it, because I wanted to know how it worked. And I really, even now, I listen to some of these guys that really get into the metabolics, and, I'm learning how cells work, how insulin works. How insulin works was a big reveal to me. Understanding that weight loss isn't about calories, because that's all you ever hear is eat less calories, eat less calories. So understanding that until your insulin's low, your body won't let go of fat was like a light bulb moment for me, because I was like, well, okay, well, that sort of makes all this make a lot more sense. And so learning helped a lot in terms of understanding what was happening with my body, because I could feel it and see it as it got better, but I did want to understand the why. I've kind of got a brain like that. I want to know why things do what they do. Um, so now I'm probably into it I'm in July, and I decide I'm going to do my first blood work. And I paid for my own blood work. I knew that I probably wouldn't get it done through the doctor. So I just went on the Quest website, which is who we had here in town, and decided I'm just going to buy some labs. So I did most of the normal labs, but I did add the lab that does the LDL particle size, and the pattern measures your AB pattern that some doctors say that matters, because I was curious from that perspective what that would look like. And my blood work was better. My A1C was from 5.8 to 5.4, 5.8 to 5.4 in 3 months. So I'm now not in pre-diabetic anymore. 3 months, it's normal. And I was pretty shocked. I was hoping that it might come down point 0.1. I would have been thrilled just to see it going down. And that was like huge, very encouraging. I was like, wow, that's crazy. 3 months. And the other things, of course, my cholesterol went up some, which I expected it to, but my triglycerides went down. My HDL went up, like the doctors say. That's a healthy thing to look for. So I was encouraged, and I sent my doctor a letter with a copy of all this stuff, all my blood work, and a letter of what I was doing, where my weights were, my blood pressures, and said, put this in my chart. I never heard back from the doctor's office. They never said anything about it, but I guess they put it in my chart. I'll find out probably in March or April. But I was very encouraged to see that already, because diabetes scared me for sure. I mean, I got 7 grandkids, and I still want to do things with them that I wasn't able to do. At 310 pounds, I couldn't barely walk. I couldn't walk half a mile in April. We have neighborhood that's beautiful for walking. We've got, one way in, one way out, miles and miles, of roads. You can walk much as you want here. I could not walk a half mile or away from my house because of back pain in April. And now I'm walking 3 miles just for the exercise of it, for the fun of it, and nothing hurts. So I'm starting to see other things be better. Back pain is big. I mean, I back always hurt, and that was gone by 3 months. It just didn't hurt anymore, and other things started to improve. No stomach issues whatsoever. Like they're just gone, like none. Like my stomach felt great all the time, just and still does. Like never have any of those issues whatsoever. But the other big thing that I started to notice by July was the mental acuity, the mental outlook felt amazing. I was like, my gosh, this is just, I feel different. Because in April, when I started doing this, I was on basically four meds. I took one for, I guess, anxiety, depression, you call it. It was Wellbutrin, the whatever the generic for that is. And I'd been on that for 10 years. I was on metformin with the high A1C. I'd been on that for, I don't even know how long, and then two blood pressure meds. So I was on four medications, not too many, but that's what I was dealing with forever. I just thought that's normal. I'll just be on those all the time. So get to August, and I have to go up and make a trip to Nashville to see my daughter to help her with some stuff at her house. I told her I'd drive up and help her. Now, whenever I would drive more than, say, a 3 hour trip, I would be at the store getting a 5 hour energy because I was worried about falling asleep driving. And it was real. Like I knew if I didn't do that, I was worried I might fall asleep driving. I just wouldn't be able to do it. And here I'm headed to Nashville. So that's about 8 hours from my house driving. So the first night up there, I got a hotel 4 hours halfway. I said, well, I'll drive 4 hours and then I'll stay. I don't want to ever do these long day drives. I just wouldn't do them. So I'm driving and I'm hit the 4 hour mark. I'm like, yeah, I feel great. I hadn't taken anything. I just didn't, I said, I don't need anything. I'm just fine. Just, driving along. And I was like, I'm going to drive another hour. So I ended up driving 5 hours and then finally said, well, I'm going to stop. It's getting late at night. I didn't want to keep going, but I could have. I was like, I hadn't experienced that in a long, long time to be able to feel alert and safe enough to do something like that. So I did, just stopped over, went up, helped her out for about a week and a half. And then on the drive, then I said, I'm going to drive back. And as the timing went, I needed to drive back in one day. And I said, well, I think I can do that. I don't think it'll be a problem. Felt great. So I left her house in the morning. I'm like 2 miles down the interstate. I get a flat tire. So now I'm 2 hours of dealing with this flat tire. So now I'm leaving 2.5 hours later than I expected. And I'm like, oh, I got an 8 hour drive, but let's see what happens. I feel good. And drove home. And when I got home 8 hours later, I felt like I could have driven another 3 or 4 hours if I needed to. That was the biggest thing that happened for me that was an absolute change from how I had been feeling for years. Not feeling safe enough to drive 3 hours at a time without taking 5 hour energies along, to I've just driven 8 hours with 2 hours of an unexpected interruption, and I felt fine when I got home and could have gone for another couple hours. That really brought home how real the mental change was for me, you know, from a mental health perspective, in terms of how my head felt.
It's kind of like
And
wearing a new set of glasses, looking at the world through different lenses, right?
absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought of trying that. And probably if I hadn't have felt so good driving up, I wouldn't have tried it coming back. And my wife kept saying, "You sure you don't need to stop? You sure you don't need to stop?" I was like, "I'm good, fine. Come on, I'm coming." And but that was a big moment that I thought, how do I really feel in my head? And I thought, I feel really good. I'm happier, I'm active, and by now I've lost I'm probably at 35 or so pounds, 40 pounds by then in July. Forget the exact timing, but I'm feeling much better. I'm being more active. I'm going to the gym. I mean, I just, my whole outlook and perspective is just different. And I thought, do I really need to take a medicine for anxiety anymore? And so in August, I said, there's one way to find out, because every time before, if I had ever tried to not take it, my wife could tell, or it's like I'd miss it for a couple days. She would know. She would say, "Did you take your meds?" I'm like, oh, I might have missed them the next day or two. She could just tell from my mood. And I didn't, I shouldn't have done this, but I didn't tell her. I just stopped them for about 2 weeks. I wanted to see what happened, to see if she'd notice. It was a little bit of a test for me to see if she'd notice. And I felt great, happy, good. I was like, I just don't see that I need this. And then I told her, I said, look, I stopped taking these. Did you notice? And she was like, well, you sure? I said, well, you tell me. You always, you read me, you know me. If you see that you think it's not working, let me know. But I said, I feel wonderful. So just stopped it. And I looked at, got the blood results, and I said, do I need metformin anymore? I read about what it's for, and it had it because I'd always had a higher A1C. And so I said, probably not. Let's not take it either and see what happens. So did away with those two basically around August, I guess. And still taking the blood pressure meds, but my blood pressure's been real good, normal, much 130s over 70 type stuff. It may vary a little bit, but it's good. And so, I'm just feeling so much better, and other little things are starting to heal. Had arthritis in my left hand. I couldn't make a fist with my left hand all the way. It just wouldn't, it's cracky and crinkly and wouldn't work. And, about a month or month and a half ago, I realized it doesn't bother me. And I was like, I can just do whatever I want with it. It's like normal now, like it should be. And that's funny how stuff like that I didn't even realize was different, something just triggered me to look and go, oh, that's different. And so that was something I didn't have to worry about. And so a lot of all these things started to add up to, like, this is more than losing weight. That feels good, but there's way more to this than that. And those things became way more important, honestly, than, I mean, the weight loss had to happen too. That certainly had an effect on so many of these things. But it was all this other stuff feeling better at the same time. I felt like the weight loss was a bonus almost to, the other stuff. So I decided to, coming up here into October, the end of October, I was like, I wanted to get quarterly blood work. I said, I want to know for myself what these things look like. Again, I'm an accountant. I like numbers. I like to measure. I like to look at things. That's just kind of how my brain's wired. So I thought, I want to see what this looks like. So I had ordered the book Common Sense Labs from Ken Berry, because I had listened to a lot of his work, and I like him a lot. Kind of a Southern boy, good, I relate to that a little bit. Although I'm really from the northern United States, but I've lived in the South since the 70s. But I wanted to understand more about how to know how's my health really doing. And so that book sounded like it would make sense to see, well, what labs should you get? What do they mean? And how do you interpret them? So I got his book, and ordered the labs at the end of October that he recommends. And that included especially one that I had never done before, which is the fasting insulin. Are you insulin resistant? How's your body doing with managing that? And I was curious about that by a lot. That was one of the main reasons I wanted to do it. And I used the website Your Own Labs. I forget the doctor that sponsors that, and it's very inexpensive, not inexpensive, but reasonable to get a bunch of different labs. And if you let them use the information or have the demographic information to go with it for their database, you get a discount. And then I learned about it from one of the other YouTube channels. I think it was Jenny Middet's channel. So she has a discount code, and they stack. So I found out you get the discount for letting them use the blood work, and a discount for her discount code. And I got the whole set of labs that he recommends for an annual physical in October. And all those numbers were even more improved than they had been. And was very exciting to see real numbers in just 7 months. So basically, it was 7 months out, The A1C now is down to 5.3, so well within normal. Um, the triglycerides were 123 in April and 67 in October, the end of
Wow.
October. The HDL was up to 55, and several of the doctors talked about monitoring your, I think it's LDL by HDL ratio, looking at that ratio should be
I
around 1.
yeah, I think that's triglycerides to HDL ratio.
Yes, exactly. So in April, that ratio was 3 with my blood work in April, and it's 1.19 in October. Bless you.
Thank you.
And so a drop of, from essentially from 3 to 1.2 in 7 months. And the total cholesterol is up. It was around two. I wrote them down here. I think it was 210. And the LDL was up as I expected it to be, but everything else was good. Yeah, the total was 218, and it was 196 in April. So not up a crazy amount by any amount. And the LDL was 148, and it was 132 in April. So it's not like it went crazy, but the triglycerides and HDL were fabulously improved by tons. And the fasting insulin came in at 4.2. And I know Ken Berry says that generally they want you under 10 uh, to be insulin resistant and feel like it's affecting you. So that set of blood work I just got has made me feel very comfortable that this is a smart, well planned way to eat.
And
And
you see these results, and these results, like majority or all of the markers getting better, LDL going up. Um, Most people start to see these things, perhaps not in this shorter period that you have, but most people start to see these improvements. And the only thing going out of range is the LDL. And it's like, well, if everything's improving and LDL's elevated, it does kind of indicate that this is probably the correct way to be eating, and that something's right about this if everyone follows a similar pattern.
yeah, absolutely. And I did a lot of listening to many of the doctors and scientists talk about the LDL because I wanted to understand that. Because I always like everybody else, like, oh, my LDL is going to go up. You hear all the fear mongering. And then when you look at the science behind people that study this, and not just doctors, but some of these guys are uh, just professors or researchers. Ben Bickman was a good one. There's several that I listen to that talk about this. And it got me to understand that I don't think I need to worry about the LDL so much. I did, Dr. Westman's another one I've listened to. I like him a lot, the doctor at Duke. And I even did he just started a carnivore course, and I actually took that and did that, even though I felt like I wasn't going to learn a lot because I'd been reading so much. But I thought, well, let me get a doctor's course on how to do it. And it was really good. I love how his stuff is very simple to follow, easy to use. And I did pick up quite a few good tips out of it. But it also confirmed that what I was doing was the right way to do it, and I felt better about that. And it wasn't terribly expensive. I think it was $190 or something like that. And then you get a lot of these permanent resources, the food list, the others, a lot of stuff you get with the course aside from there's 3 weeks of meetings and stuff you get with it. But uh, it was just reinforcement that this made sense to a doctor who studied, with Atkins and who's been doing this kind of thing at Duke now for 35 years. I'm like, if he's at Duke for 35 years and doing this with patients and it works, well, I don't care what studies there may not be. That's enough credibility for me. Um, and so I felt like it was worth spending a little money to do that and get those resources and take the course. So I did that as well. But yeah, everything was good. I mean, there was not one. The only other thing that was a little out of whack was a inflammation marker called C-reactive protein, And it went from 11.7 to 7.8 in October, so down from July to October. And so that's encouraging too. And I'm still dealing with this knee a little bit. The knee's not perfect. It's way better though. And so you don't, the problem with that marker is it could be an inflammation, could be any number of things. You don't know for sure, but it was even better. And it was, even though it was, one of the only other thing out of range, but all the other vitamin tests, D, B, every other marker was well within normal, magnesium, phosphorus, everything. And like I said, I did that full comprehensive set of tests that is recommended in that Common Sense Labs book. And I was thrilled. I was actually amazed that there wasn't still some things that should need to be fixed, to be honest. And
Yeah.
like,
S
very encouraging.
and even the C-reactive protein being out of range, at least it's heading in the right direction, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, to go from what, 11 point something down to 7 point something in 3 months, because that was only measured from July to October. I didn't have that measurement done at my annual. The doctor didn't have the annual labs you get from your doctor. They're not that much, honestly. So that's why I wanted to do more on my own. But yeah, so today I hit, as of Monday this week, I was down 80 pounds pretty much on the dot, down to 230 from 310. And I have no doubt that by the time I get to, hopefully, the spring or later spring, early summer, I'm hoping to be at goal weight by then, and especially when I see my doctor again.
Right.
But yeah, it's just works, and when you understand the physiology, it makes more sense as to why it works. Um, but yeah, it's been easy to eat. I've learned adapted to that pretty well, and I love to eat out. Do that a lot. I'm not eating at home all the time, so I had to learn how to do that, and that's been pretty darn easy to do, honestly. I probably get some seed oil I don't need or something here or there, maybe that I don't know about, but so far there's been nothing like that that's just thrown me way out of whack. Uh, and I do drink Diet Cokes. I usually probably have those, not every day, but I do like them. They haven't thrown me off. And I said, well, if I get to where I hit a stall or something, I'll see if that's a problem. But that was kind of my one thing I've kind of hung on to a little bit, but I still drink a ton of water, electrolytes every day. That was one thing that I started from the beginning. And I was glad I looked at what some people said to do from the beginning, because I do think that helped, minimize issues when I transitioned, especially doing it cold turkey. So done electrolytes since day one, and I've been 100%. When I did this, I have not had one vegetable, not one sugar, not one. The carbs I get are coming from scallops or seafood a little bit. My big cheat is an avocado occasionally. That's my favorite little cheat snack, and I'll put, like today I went out for lunch with my wife. I had plain baked chicken wings, a burger patty, and a little slice of avocado on top. Perfect, no problem.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to make that work. But I've learned to cook a lot at home. I do a lot more of my own cooking now. Bought a Blackstone, which is absolutely awesome. If you don't have one of the cast iron cooktops, those are amazing. And an air fryer, my best friend. So yeah, it's easy. Yeah, but I like variety too. I probably haven't had two ribeyes the whole 7 months. I'm not a huge ribeye fan. Everybody talks about the ribeyes. Um, but I do like steak. I'll do a lot of New York strips. It's probably my favorite cut. But I do a lot of ground meats, meatloafs that I use the pork rinds instead of breadcrumbs, sub them in, and it's works absolutely fine. And I do a lot of that for places that would call for bread and recipes. You know, I use the pork rinds. I did fried fish with them last night that we caught fresh the other day, and so that's work.
On a normal day, are you eating 2 times a day?
Generally, I eat twice a day. On gym days, when I go to the gym, I go up. My gym is about 8:30 in the mornings, Monday and Thursday, and I have to drive about 30 minutes to get there. So I generally eat 3 times on those days because I will drive up early. My wife will sleep in. I don't wake her up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I will drive up to the little town the gym is in, go get some scrambled eggs and bacon. Gotten to know the ladies at the restaurant very well there. They see me come in twice a week, and they're like, "Don't you want the toast, the waffles?" And nope, just three, four scrambled eggs and a side of bacon. That's all I want. And I'll go do that. I'll go for about a 2 to 3 mile walk around a real pretty lake that's right near the gym. Then I go to the gym. So that's kind of my Monday, Thursday routine. And I enjoy that. I like having a little breakfast, and I'll have a tea with a little stevia in it, maybe a little half of one of those little cups of creamer. But I do like a hot tea on those 2 days. And that's generally the only 2 days I do tea. And I'll generally eat 3 times on the gym days. I'll eat in the morning, go to the gym because we usually do all lifting weights. And shout out to Rick Sherrill, an old school gym in Thomasville, Georgia. He is absolutely fabulous. And I've learned so much about doing more to take care of your body aside from the eating from him. But I'll eat 3 meals on those 2 days. And other days, I'll generally do twice. And I try to eat between 10 and 5 typically. Like today I ate breakfast at 10, and or no, we didn't eat breakfast today. Today was lunch. Actually, took my wife to lunch. So we went out to lunch around 11:30, and then I'll eat when we're done with this today. I'll have a second meal, and no snacks. That's another thing. When I started this, I bought meat strips. I'm like, oh, I love to snack because I was Mr. Snacks. If I went to the gas station, I didn't leave without like I said, candy bars and cookies. I literally every time. And I'm like, well, I'm going to need snacks because I'll be hungry. I just didn't buy this "you're never hungry" stuff. So I bought these meat sticks to have the clean ones that were good. They didn't have a lot of junk in them. They were expensive, and I had them occasionally the first month, once in a while, and they're still in my fridge from April that I haven't eaten yet. In fact, I probably need to just get rid of them. I never snack. I have no desire to snack. And the biggest thing, mental change too, this probably should have been number one, is the no longer craving the sugar. I was absolutely addicted to sweets. I mean, literally, if I saw a piece of cake, I'd have four. Like, just anything sweet at all. Could not control myself. And on any diet I ever took, and I tried all the diets known to man, never lost that sweet addiction. And that last program that I did, as soon as I hit goal weight and had one sweet, I was right down that path of putting 110 of those pounds back on. And this, I like look at a cake now and it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't have any desire for anything sweet. And I did not think that's the part that a lot of the YouTubers would talk about. You'll lose this. And I was like, that's never, I'm going to have to fight that my whole life. But it's gone. Now, I don't doubt that I still have it. It's kind of like the alcoholic. I wouldn't touch a piece of cake even at a grandkid's birthday party. Just no. And I don't want it anymore, but it would just not be good for me. I know me personally, that's just not something that I'd want to even risk doing. But that desire is gone. It's funny. Thursday nights, I meet with our church group, and the gym that I work out, ironically, is close to an Amish bakery. And so a lot of times I bring the desserts to the Thursday night group. And I go in there and they got cakes, pies, all the best stuff you could possibly imagine. I buy some for everybody else, take it with me that night. No desire to get any, no desire to cheat, steal any, eat any in my car on the way home. None of that. Don't even care. Watch them eat it. They love it. And I bring every Thursday nights, I generally, because they provide a meal, they cook, but I usually take my own steak, scallop, crab cakes, whatever I've made. I just take my own meal, and they eat all the sweets for me. I don't have to worry about it. They enjoy it, and that's good. They appreciate me getting it.
That's
But
awesome.
that's been a huge deal.
And what kind of reaction do they have to you eating just a steak or some scallops or something?
They don't say a whole lot. They've asked me about it, and of course I tell them what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and they've known me for a long, long time, and they've seen me through the ups and downs of these yo-yos before. So, I've told them this time it's something I think's going to stick, and I'm doing it to be healthier. And of course, now they're like, I can't believe how you look in 6 months. I mean, so there is another couple that goes as well that does a strict keto, and so they understand a lot about what I'm doing. In fact, we'll trade some recipes occasionally, but they do the keto side of it, but they eat they eat real clean too. And so sometimes they'll try things I bring, like if I do a carnivore meatloaf or carnivore crab cakes or whatever I'm doing, we'll share some stuff. But yeah, it's been fine. Even with my friends, we go out to lunch or whatever, I'll just order, you know, burger patty or whatever it is I'm getting. The great steakhouse here in town, and I love going there for lunch because you can get a lunch sirloin, and for a side, they'll give you deviled eggs. And instead of they put a sweet bacon on it, and I just ask them, can you just sub that for a regular slice of bacon? And they do. And I'm having a steak and a side. My friends have whatever they want. Doesn't matter. So I haven't found the social thing to be any issue. My friends don't really, they're just happy that I feel better and look better. And yeah, really not an issue there. And I just get what I get, and they get what they get.
And how has your wife been watching on? Is she, like, happy that you're getting these results and supportive?
Yeah, absolutely. We both love food. That's been the, one thing that we weren't good for each other in one way. That would be it probably. But yeah, she's been super supportive. I'm sort of trying to inch her over to the keto side, and but it's fine because I'll make a protein. She eats the protein, and then I'll make her whatever veggies or whatever she wants to go with hers. So it hasn't been a big deal, to cook for both of us because we both like seafood and we both like all the other meats and things. So it's really just adding a side for her when I cook, not a big deal. But yeah, she's thrilled obviously for how much better I feel and how it's working. So she's super supportive, and that's been very, very helpful as well because I can see where somebody would think, "You're doing what? Are you nuts? Like you lost your mind." But it's hard to argue with when you see results like in to me, 7 really short months. I feel like it's a different life and a different outlook on life.
And it's hard to make people understand how you can switch off that feeling of needing to eat the cakes and the breads and all that kind of thing, and how you can eat relatively the same kind of looking things every day and still feel happy about it and still look forward to the next one and all that kind of thing. Because as a guest recently said to me, it's a little bit like trying to describe the color blue to someone who's always been blind. You
Yeah.
can't make them understand the perspective because they have to experience it.
Yeah. I still can't even believe it. Like, I don't understand how different mentally I feel in so many ways. And that's the part that really clicked for me was how it changed how I feel in my head. Like, how does your diet do that? And I believe that the brain likes ketones and it works, and I think it makes it happy. And but yeah, that's very real. And for me, no diet I ever did, even ones that quote unquote successfully lost weight on, none of them stuck. And it was always because I'd go back to something sweet, and then like a drunk taking that first drink, they could be clean for 20 years, but that next drink's what's going to throw them over the edge. To me, it's the same thing. A piece of cake will do that to me. And so yeah, but the fact that it's just not tempting at all, it doesn't appeal. Like, we did my sister-in-law's 70th birthday party a few weeks ago, and they had cake and I'm like, that's great. Enjoy. That's good. I had a slice of cheese for a snack. That was my big cheat for the celebration, but nobody cares. Everybody does their own thing. They don't care. It doesn't matter. You just don't worry about it. Uh, so I haven't found it really to be too difficult. I wish I could explain it, but I can't, other than like you said, I just know it's very, very real. Never felt it in 66 years of life. Never felt like this about sweets and temptation of it. But I just no desire. doesn't look appealing. Yeah, at all. And I do like variety of food. I mean, I don't, I eat lots. I try to find different ways to do things. I made carnivore gravy last week for the first time. It was awesome. It was great. Made my meatloaf
Wow.
a little more fun.
So how much money would I need to give you to go back to eating a regular diet? Like,
There isn't enough. It
no.
wouldn't matter. No, no, it wouldn't matter. You can't trade health for money. It just, yeah. I feel the best I've felt in decades. Decades. Why would I give that up? Yeah, it's just, I'm blessed, I'm retired. It's not like I need much. The one thing I found, the older I get, the less I really need. It's a funny thing how that works. Like I don't need a lot to make me happy. Now a walk around this lake makes me happy.
Yeah, as you get older, it's almost like I don't care what people think of me, and, I'm happy with peace. I don't need
Yes.
things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the that's part of I think as you age and you see your kids grow up and you want to spend time with them, it's your experiences and time you have with the grandkids, or those are the things that you care about the most. All that stuff is just stuff, and not as interested in it anymore. Being a CPA, I've done a lot of financial coaching. I help people with money on how to do things. That's something else that doesn't get taught. They don't teach us how to eat. They don't teach us how to take care of our finances. And a lot of those same principles that I try to get people to apply there apply to this. They're very much the same. It's simplicity. I look at debt like sugar. They're both horrible for us, and they get advertised and marketed more than anything else in the world. Uh, and they're both horrible for us. They don't teach us to not do it. You don't learn it in school. Nobody teaches you that stuff. And that's why I've really enjoyed going down the physiological rabbit hole, if you will, learning, well, why is this working? How can this work? Well, when you really start to understand it, it just makes sense. And that's helped enormously for me to be convinced that I mean, I don't see changing, not to say never. I know there's some videos where people that have done this for years say that they start to feel different 5 or 7 years in, and they've added a few things back or added some carbs back, but I don't hear any of them saying, oh, I added back a bunch of cupcakes. They've added back sauerkraut, or they've added back some salads, or they've added back a couple of blueberries, and people freaking out like, oh, they're not doing carnivore. I'm like, well, they're just kind of doing keto, really, of which carnivore is just another sort of way to do keto, a little more strict. But I don't hear any of these people going, oh, yeah, I had 5 pieces of cake last week and I feel great. So I think some of that's been a bit overblown, of what I've heard on the internet stuff lately. And yeah, they're adding a few carbs back of stuff that's still real food. It's so I think
Yeah.
that's been a little funny to me to hear people tell those stories.
Yeah, as you say, no one's adding 10 cupcakes a day back and going, "I feel amazing now. I was starting to
Right,
feel bad,
exactly.
but now that I'm eating this processed food, I feel awesome."
Yeah, yeah. I love that bag of chips. I'm wonderful. Yeah, so I think a lot of that is, a little over, and people need to do what works for them. For me, I know this works because of the simplicity and the fact that I know that I can't go down the road of having sweet stuff. It's not going to fit my personality. And for me, even fruit, I just, part of being away from that is good because, again, I wouldn't eat, a little small couple of pieces of watermelon or a few strawberries. I'd have a bowl full of it and then want more. So even getting rid of that for me is good. But I do use stevia or a sweetener in a little tea or something. I have Diet Cokes fairly regularly. I get a fountain Coke, but I walk out of the store with a fountain Coke now, where I used to have the Coke plus the Diet Coke plus the, you know, package of cookies and a few candy bars for later. And that's the difference. But the fact that I can walk into a store now and come out with a Diet Coke and that's it, that's like a miracle to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Um,
just a huge difference.
so let's say, a friend came to you and said, "Steve, I've seen you do so well on carnivore. I want to give it a try too. I'm willing to commit to 90 days. Tell me what to do. What advice or tips would you give them?
The one thing I would tell them to do is first of all, learn about it. And that helped me because before I just jumped in with 2 feet, it wasn't like I found a YouTube video that day and said, I'm doing this. I'd been looking at it for probably a month, thinking about it. But I think understand what changes to expect with your body, what will happen, how long certain things might take. It affects different people differently. But I would say do some research, learn about what it'll be like, then decide, commit to, I think 90 days is necessary. I mean, I said to myself 30 because I felt like I know I can do anything for 30 days. So, but I think 90 is smarter because I think you'll really see what it's going to do. But learn about what to expect. And then if you need a community or something, there's a lot of those out there. I haven't joined one, but I'm thinking about it just because I think it's helpful. But learn what to expect first. Don't just start doing it and then wait to see what happens to you because that might throw you off before you can stick with it. So kind of learn what you might expect and then be willing to commit to something for 90 days. I mean, just 90 days. And if you feel terrible, go back. But I can't imagine that would happen. And for some people, you got to know your personality. That'd be the other thing. Like for me, I'm kind of an all in. If I'm going to do this, I got to do it. I can't dip my toe in it or I'll never commit to it. Other people, and I've listened to a lot of your stories where they can kind of gradually ease their way into it and not shock their body so much. So you got to be willing to do it how it works for you. No one thing is right. I mean, it's different. We're all individuals. Everybody's body's different. So be smart about that. One thing I've tried recently, I did my first 2 fasts in the last month, and I've been reading. That's been my latest rabbit hole to go down is fasting. I hit a bit of a stall. I got to where I was kind of stuck a few weeks ago. I got down to 238 for like 3 weeks, and like nothing was happening. So I started to look into some of that, and fasting was something that kept popping up as a way to maybe shake up a stall. And so I did a 24-hour and a 27-hour fast. And then within the next 3 weeks, I hit this 130. That definitely kind of got me off of that, whatever I was stuck with. But the other thing that shocked me is I really liked it. I felt good. I wasn't really hungry. I enjoyed it. And I'm going to do a 36-hour this week for the first time and try that. But I have enjoyed it. I liked it. And learning about a lot of what other things heal in your body have me interested as well. And then the other thing I'm going to do too is I am going to get a artery scan. I'm just curious about what 60 years of junk has done and where I'm at to get some baseline on my arterial health. And so I'll probably get a CAC scan and just see what that looks like to have a baseline and then maybe do another one a year from now and see how that's affected just where that's at. That's probably the one thing I'm curious about still,
Right.
health wise.
Mm.
But it's been a whirlwind 7 months, an amazing 7 months, and I still got a ways to go. Like I said, I'm at 230. I want to get to 180 at least.
Mm.
And I'm kind of going to let the diet tell me where to stop. It's the way I'm looking at it at this point. I'm like, I think I'll just stop losing when I get to where I need to be. I'll see what happens. But I feel like that's at least I want to be in that neighborhood. So probably got another 50 to go. And I think over the next 5 to 7 months that should be attainable. You obviously you lose slower the further into it you get because that's just part of it. And lifting weights and doing exercises, you're putting on muscle too. So body composition has definitely changed. Spent a lot of money on new clothes, which I have enjoyed every penny of it. So I'm hoping to do more of that.
Yeah, that's always a nice problem to have.
That's a wonderful problem to have. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But so far so good, and that's kind of the road we're headed down, and wouldn't
Mm.
change a thing right now.
So Steve, if people want to reach out to you, how can they get in contact?
Yeah, probably email. I'm not like a big social media guy. I listen to it. I don't do anything. Although I've thought about whether I should do a sort of what you do with like a North Florida carnivore story channel or something. I don't know if I'll do that, but it would be fun to hear people locally that, if there's other people doing this around. My best friend's doing it. It was funny when I started a week later. My best friend lives in town here, and we've known each other since college. And I told him, I said, I'm doing this. He said, man, I started that a week ago. I said, you're kidding. And I had no idea. But he did it. He didn't need to lose weight, but he did it for the mental acuity standpoint. He's worried about some markers of pre-Alzheimer's type stuff and those issues, and it's in his family history. So that's why he did it, was for that. But he's still lost a little weight and looks amazing. We're going fishing next weekend for 3 days together, and hopefully catch some of our own food. But he got into it for a completely different reason. But he had been listening to some of the same people I had. But it was funny that we both just coincidentally had started this within a week of each other, but for totally different reasons.
That's
So, but
awesome.
yeah, email. I think I emailed you a couple of my two emails I primarily use. One's work, personal, doesn't really matter. But if anybody wanted to talk about it or just had questions, somebody besides my wife hearing about it's probably good. She gets a little tired probably of hearing me talk about it. But when you feel this good, you want other people to realize, hey, this is possible. And I've 7 months I've done more than I've done in 66 years. So you know,
Nice. Yeah, I'll link to your emails in the show notes. Steve,
that'd be
thank you
great.
so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for your channel. I listen to your channel almost more than any others because I love the stories. I want to hear other people's experiences because that keeps me motivated day to day, and to hear the other things people have healed. I feel like my story's kind of generic. It's sort of like, I luckily did not have any major diseases. I didn't have to heal some of the things that people have dealt with. I'm just guy that grew up eating bad stuff, ate too much, couldn't deal with his weight, and didn't realize how bad you felt until one day you realized, man, I'm feeling terrible and 70's around the corner. I want to be around a while longer. Uh, but I appreciate what you do. The stories matter a lot, and I love hearing them all from different perspectives.